Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and we are alive and well. Rivalry week is here, Josh.
It is
It's
here.
exciting. I know it's getting cold here. It's just been like raining, like legit, just been like raining and cold. So that's been fun. That's been fun to deal with. But and I'm doing parent teacher conferences at the same time, so it's a great time. But Josh, how are you doing? How's the week? How's the weekend? How was all that going on last week?
Yeah, last week was good. We wrapped up production at work, so we're down for the holiday now. We also got a good amount of rain today. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Weather's been probably fluctuating between like 35 and 50 degrees. So it's
Yeah,
your really a really solid state high school football playoff weather for sure up here.
it's
It's
just
that time of
gross. It's
season.
just so
Yeah,
gross.
yeah, it's gross. It's hard to watch. Shout out all the fans that travel around and the
Phew.
parents and everybody that watches those games outside. But yeah, like you said, we got big games happening in college
Yeah.
football weekend to discuss, and we also got some relatively positive Cleveland Browns discussion today too.
You know, Josh, I never thought that there'd be a day where we'd sit on here and be like both in agreement that there's some positive to talk about the Browns. Usually we're in like a difference, a different mode with it. But I look at the Browns and yeah, man, is it me or is it like I don't know? You're in more Northeast Ohio, so you can probably sense it more. Doesn't it feel like there's been like a jolt of energy just like siphoned into the Browns and they're only 3-8? Like it's not like they're 6-6, but
Yeah, I still feel like most of that energy is coming from the national media, just because the
yeah,
bar, of course, in Cleveland and for Mr. Shador Sanders has been low enough that you can go 11 for 20, 209 yards or whatever it was with one touchdown and one pick, and you can be crowned, the next king of Cleveland. But I think the way that I look at that is it's just like I said, it's been a pretty low bar set, unfortunately, but he came out and beat a bad team and got a win,
yeah.
which we haven't always done. We beat up on the Dolphins, I think for 31. That was the most we've scored this year. And then this was the second highest output.
I mean
So,
that throw he made on the run to his right, and just that was impressive. I don't
the
care who
one
you
to, the
are.
one to
That
Bond that got into the goal
yeah,
line.
that was
Mhm.
impressive. And we also got Chip Carley fired, which is hilarious because he left the Ohio State to make 6 million a year, and then he gets fired after he plays the Browns.
Didn't he
Um,
make it through his first year as the highest paid assistant in the NFL?
yeah, and I think on top of Shador, man, I think what we can talk about this Browns win is can we talk about Miles Garrett, man? And I posted this,
They
I
sacked
think,
Geno Smith 10
yeah,
times this game.
and I posted this, I think, yesterday on my own Facebook, but then also on our Instagram, and I posted that we are wasting. This is a generational player, and I know that that term is used so loosely nowadays. But Josh, you have to agree with me. Like, this is like we're never going to see another player, I think, like him at that capability of doing what he can do. 6 straight seasons of 16 plus sacks, and he's got 18 this year. I mean, it's like what I think Strahan said. Like, oh well, see a record. Like, I mean, he's got 6 games to get like 5 sacks. Like, I think he can do it. Unless teams try like take their whole offensive line and block him. I mean, the Raiders were trying defense, tight ends. They were trying fullbacks, running backs. I don't know about you, man. It's so cool to see the defense playing so well, but yet it's so demoralizing knowing what this team could be if they actually had a capable offense. Is what's so sad.
Yeah, just the last four games, he's just been on an absolute tear.
13 sacks in four
Vegas,
games.
three against Vegas, four against the Ravens, one against the Jets, five against the Patriots. Yeah, generational is I think an appropriate description of Miles. Every now and then, every generation has its pass rusher, right? Like we got Miles Garrett right now. You had your Reggie Whites, you had your Lawrence Taylors, you had your Michael Strahans, and even today, like you still got some guys that are pretty solid, like
But
T.J.
not as
Watt.
consistent, I feel like.
Uh, yeah, and then just as far as the sacks go, he's had after his rookie year, he had seven, then he had 13 and a half, 10, and then yeah, I think it's 12 over the last
Yeah.
each of the last 16 seasons it is with 18 is the career high already he's got.
I mean, it's funny because I know how you feel about him a little bit just because I know you've expressed like, but I look, there's part of me that's kind of pulled in this because I feel like it's kind of the same thing with Shadur. Like some people like, oh, Shadur loves Cleveland. Some people say Shadur's only there to like get the next spot, and some people said the same thing about Miles. I think in both cases, there's part of me that feels like they both really enjoy being in Cleveland. Like the less of a spotlight, you're kind of just playing the game that you love. I don't know about you. I feel like they both have that in a way. I just think that they both necessarily don't always handle it the best way when it comes to, you know, promoting themselves in a sense. I don't know about you, but at least that's how I feel in that sense.
Definitely more pressure to win elsewhere than outside of Cleveland, and you can more so point the finger and just play your game and
Yeah.
have a good one. Speaking of Shador specifically, I know a lot of people are rubbed off the wrong way, even in Cleveland. Like after that game, he's like, "That was me after 1 week." Imagine what a whole offseason can go with, and they're comparing him and JJ McCarthy and saying, "Why does JJ get called confident and Shador gets called arrogant?" And I don't know if they're trying to make it like a white and a black issue there. They just don't like seeing black quarterbacks win. That's such an old stereotype since half the league's quarterbacks are
Yeah.
black now. But I look at JJ and I'm like, this guy lost like 3 games his whole college and high school career. He won a national championship. He was a top 10 pick, out
Yeah.
of the first round. So if there's a guy that can talk like that, I mean, he's got at least a resume, whereas Shador went like 13 and 12 at Colorado,
Well,
didn't do anything to write home about, and got his number retired because of his dad. That's mostly the reason that we know who he is. And then has that embarrassing draft party, falls to the fifth round. It's like you gotta calm
there's a
down,
reason, and
buddy.
that's like I tell people, there's a reason why he was a fifth round pick, Josh. There's a reason. Like it's not like teams were just like, oh, we don't like his dad. No, like trust me, if you're a good enough player, I don't think they care who your dad is. They're going to draft you. I think there was a bigger issue, and I think we saw it occasionally in that first appearance he made. Like I think him and Gabriel are pretty much side by side. Like they each have their own flaws. Now, do I think Shador is the answer for Cleveland long term? I don't think so. I think that this is a placement holder, at least maybe for the next, wait for the not this year, but the following year to come around when Julian Sand and those guys kind of can leave. But I don't know about you. I mean, I just now that people are saying, well, this is their quarterback, I'm just like, man, we've seen him one game and against the
We
Raiders.
have seen him
So
one game, and we've seen a new starter come to Cleveland and have, like I said, the bar's not very high. Games like this have happened before, and you get
mhm,
excited. And yeah, so I'm definitely hesitant on crowning him as our next guy. But Kevin Stefanski announced he will start the next game,
mhm.
and my whole plan
Thank the
that I envisioned
goodness.
from the beginning is him and Gabriel were going to get, their 5 or 6
And
starts
look at
to
you.
a chunk. Yeah,
You're
they're going to do it. I think he's probably going to start the rest of the year. Maybe we'll see one Deshaun Watson start in there randomly too. I don't know. But coming
oh,
up, Ben,
please
we
no.
got we got the 49ers, the Titans, the Bears, the Bills, the Steelers, and then we end with the Bengals. So there's going to be, with the exception of the Titans,
We're gonna
some
finish like
very
five and
challenging games.
5-12, I think.
Yeah, maybe he can pull off 1 or 2 more wins, but it's not going to be easy. Like I said, that was the Raiders, and we beat up on a bad team just like we did the Dolphins. We
I
probably will
can
do the
say
same
though,
against the Titans.
do you feel like watching that game? Do you feel like the Browns made a better decision of having Judkins over Janty? Because to me, I think Judkins is more of a complete back when I watch him.
I mean, the numbers really are going to favor Judkins, but like we said, they sacked Geno Smith 10 times. That offensive line hasn't done their quarterback any favors, and I can't imagine it's done Genty any favors, even though I haven't really watched them a ton. It would be fun to see Genty, I think, behind our guys and our offense, but I'm not gonna, say that we, screwed up by any means by getting Judkins.
No,
I
I
I love the
I
pick,
I
so
think the two second round picks were huge. I think getting the linebacker from UCLA, he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. I mean,
Schlesinger leads the team in
I
tackles,
don't
I think.
I don't see another guy that's going to be defensive side on the rookies, well, anyways. But look, I mean, look, it's a young team, man. Like I think people forget that. Like the offensive line is like the only veteran part of this team outside of a few veteran guys on the defense. So, yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting thing. But I don't know
I'll
about
go
you,
ahead
Josh.
and
I don't know about you, Josh. I'm feeling some rivalry week. I'm feeling some rivalry week.
I was just gonna say, I think comparing Quinshawn to Travion, since they're both Ohio State running backs
Yeah,
and both were available, that'd be like more of a comparable pick. Like, did
yeah.
we get the right guy? And just for, I guess, discussion purposes right now, Judkins has 667 yards, 7 touchdowns, averaging 3.9 yards per carry. And then Travion over in New England, he's leading them in rushing at 558 yards, 5 touchdowns, but he's averaging 4.7 a carry. He's got about 60 less carries.
Yeah, so
So
I
it's
think it does even out. Like if you gave him 60 more carries, I think it probably gets close. I think it's pretty much even across the board with those two. I think you're
yeah,
kind of getting a different style, but you're still getting the same production.
yeah. And I think both of them are getting used kind of like how they did in college too, whereas
Yeah,
like, Judkins is going to be, you're between
every
the
day.
tackles,
Yeah,
Hunter, and Henderson's the guy that's like he needs a little bit of space. He can be a little more elusive, get him involved in the pass game, and he's got 180 yards and a touchdown as a receiver too with them.
yeah.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and switch gears to college
Oh
football.
yeah, buddy. Oh yeah.
There wasn't a ton of drama that happened in
No,
week
there wasn't.
15.
There
I
really
will say
wasn't.
though that out of the big games that did happen that we discussed last week, let's start with Oregon USC because
Yeah,
this one was we thought maybe the last dangerous spot for Oregon, and USC's got a lot to play for. They're playing for a playoff spot. They've been able to be tough this season at times, look more like a Big Ten team, but at the end of the day, Oregon comes out, wins by 15, and wins like a Big Ten team does. They outgained them on the ground, and more often than not in the Big Ten, if you're the team that leads in
yeah,
rushing, you're going to win the game.
yeah. It was an interesting game. I kind of saw the highlights the next morning, and I thought USC's game plan was weird. I don't know about you. I just kind of felt the way they kind of approached that game was a different. I kind of just an interesting concept. I mean, Oregon was going to run the ball. Like that's kind of what they've been able to do this year, which is kind of different than I think most Oregons we've had recently. Um, but also, I think the thing that's been shocking me, man, is that Oregon's defense has gotten better throughout the year, and they've gotten really good. And again, I think USC is a top 20 team in the country. I think they're probably the fourth. I'd say the third or fourth best. No, I'd say fourth best Big Ten team, right there with Michigan and Washington and those teams. But I think, dude, Oregon's just proven the point that I think they're probably gonna be that team that I would be scared of if I was another team because they're not going to play in the Big Ten championship game as long as Ohio State wins and Indiana wins, which means they're going to have so much rest and they're going to be like the Ohio State from last year that's just sitting there ready to, have the ability to have extra rest and to then go play that first round game. And I think they'll end up being like that, that 5 or 6 seed for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. We had some questions about Oregon at the beginning of the year, what the defensive line was going to look like, what the receivers were going to look like, and yeah, we haven't gotten to see them really tested against a lot of
Mm-mm.
teams. Of course, there was Penn State, which ended up not being as good as we thought, and then they had Indiana at their place, but ended up losing that one. But Indiana might be, a top two team in the country, so
Yeah.
maybe a justified loss by 10. And then you get it done against USC. So yeah, I think Oregon's in a nice position here where they're probably not going to be one of the teams that get, that first round bye,
Yeah.
one of those top four seeds, but they could be positioned maybe the 5 or 6 seed. And we saw how those kind of teams did last year. At least with the kind of path that you get to play the 12 seed first. Like Penn State, I think had the fifth seed, right? And they go and face
Yeah.
Boise State and SMU, and it's like just do what you need to do, and you're in the Final Four. So Oregon's in a nice spot. Another team, Ben, that continues to find ways to win. Oklahoma Sooners with inept offense.
The offense is so bad
John
right now.
Mateer still looking bad. Uh, what ended up being the difference in this one? We were trying to figure this one out because Missouri's been running the football really good, and Bo Prabula actually made his return in this game, but they couldn't get Ahmad Hardy going. I think he finished with 57 in this game. They finished with just 70 total rushing yards, and
Yeah.
Oklahoma only had 103. But again, the defense comes up, makes some plays, forces 2 turnovers. Oklahoma also took care of the ball, didn't turn over themselves, had twice as many third down conversions, and they continue to just, rely on that defense. The offense, I think, is what it is, and they've gotten a lot of good wins because of this defense, Ben.
Yeah, it's interesting because I look at this team and oh, it must be so frustrating because I actually work with a guy who he grew up in Oklahoma, but he's a Georgia fan. So some of his brothers are still Oklahoma fans, and they were telling me today because their brothers are visiting, and he was telling me they're so frustrated because the first 3 games you thought this offense was going to be just another level, kind of an old classic Oklahoma offense. But the defense is what's keeping this team within striking distance of the playoff. Because I think if their defense was average, I think they lose two or three more games. Am I crazy for saying that? At least that's what I feel like when I watch
No, you're
them because
not.
their
Like
offense can do it.
listen to some of these final scores that we got here. Like this was 17-6 in Missouri. Alabama they beat 23 to 21. Uh, South Carolina they got 26-7. Their losses, Ole Miss was able to put up over 30 on them. They won 34 to 26 in that one, and Texas 23 to 6. Like Oklahoma's only got since John Mateer's return one game that they've scored over 30 points in. That was the Tennessee game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I this Sooners defense is going to give them the playoffs, Ben. Right now, we'll see where they come out in the new college football playoff ranking tonight. But at least in the AP, they are number 8, sitting at 92. They got LSU this coming weekend. I think they got a locked up spot at large.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to make it. It's just, I don't think they're going to win any games in the playoff with the
Yeah,
way this
they're
offense is
most
playing.
likely going to be playing like in maybe a Oregon, maybe a Texas Tech, maybe an Ole
Yeah.
Miss again.
Yeah.
Those are going to be,
Mm,
yeah, it's going to be tough again to beat them. But Oklahoma's beaten a lot of good teams this year, so we'll
yeah.
see. Let's see. There was another game I wanted to discuss here too. That was the BYU Cincinnati game.
Yeah. Domination.
Well, by 12, 26 to 14 BYU final score. This one was a close spread though. I think this was only 3.5 BYU, and we were talking about how all their games have seemingly been close.
Yeah.
LJ Martin, this one made sure that they got the win though. 222 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Bear Buckmeyer had 46 and a score on the ground also. Brandon Sorsby actually had one of his better games lately. He had 300 through the air, 2 touchdowns also, and then another 38 on the ground. But not enough for Cincinnati, Ben. They were just we were discussing them as a possible playoff team. I think at 6-1 or 7-1 or something like that. And now, unfortunately, they've lost these last three to Utah, to Arizona, to BYU now. So
Yeah. It was good while it lasted, as they would say.
yeah. Uh, then there was really only one big upset that I think we can wrap the weekend up with, and that was Georgia Tech going against Pitt. Credit Pat Narduzzi.
Row
He said this
race.
was the game that actually matters, not the Notre Dame one. They could lose that one by 100, and they basically did to Jeremiah Love. But they showed up for the Yellow Jackets, Ben, 42 to 28. That
This
sends
ACC is
us.
weird, man. This ACC is weird.
This ACC is gonna be weird. I was gonna go ahead and pull up those standings after we just discussed that because
So as
it's.
everyone wins out, if everyone wins out, then it's going to be SMU versus Virginia for the ACC title game, which is just
I think
weird.
so, yeah, because I think one of Virginia's losses was against a conference opponent, but it
Yeah.
didn't technically count as a conference game on the schedule. The ACC is the only conference I know of that does that, where they just, if they can't find another team out of conference to play, they just schedule one of their buddies.
It's just weird.
Yeah, so yeah, I think you're right. It is Virginia. Actually, it's Pitt now. If at least
Well,
the
because I
way
read
that.
it today. Well, because I read it today, there was something with tiebreakers and stuff. If SMU wins out and if Virginia wins out, then those two would play.
Okay.
So basically, like Georgia Tech's kind of screwed himself, and there's really no chance for them to make the ACC title game. There's a slight chance for Miami, a slight chance for um, Duke has a slight chance. Um, yeah, that's kind of like the way it looks like. And Pitt, I think, has a very small chance. So
Yeah, I think Georgia Tech and Miami are the two highest rated teams in the conference, and they're not even going to be in the conference
that's what's
championship.
hilarious. That's what just makes it
Yeah,
so funny.
yeah, both 9-2. That whole playoff scenario is going to be interesting. If it is Virginia and SMU, and let's just say SMU wins, it's like okay. If I don't think they're going to get another ACC team in though outside
No,
the.
that I mean that's just you're the ones that lost. Like win your games, as Ryan Day would say.
You got to win the games, and I do wonder how they're going to structure like the rankings as they go into ACC too.
Oh, I know.
Like I said, Georgia Tech and Miami are the two highest rated right now. And Virginia Tech is the third highest, and they could be a conference champ and go into the playoff with an 11-2 overall record. But is there going to be room for like a Miami? I know the argument right now with them is if they finish with the same record as Notre Dame, then they got the head-to-head. Why would the Irish be able to get in?
Because the Irish looks like a better football team right now. That's why.
Right now they do, but did the games that happen, the first six
Yeah, I
weeks of the
know.
season not count
Yeah.
or not matter? I mean, that's
No,
like
it's
what
true.
that's the logic that the three loss teams were using last year is they heated up at the end or something like that. But yeah, the whole 12-week season does matter. But I think Notre Dame right now is the better football team if they were to play again.
Yeah, for sure.
But what happens on the field has to matter to an extent too. So we'll see how much of this gets fixed. Uh, we can go ahead and do our power ranking and updated
Hmm.
Heisman watch too before we get into previewing these coming
Yeah.
games.
So last week, uh power rankings were pretty straightforward actually. So I had dang Nats. I had Texas A&M 5, Texas Tech 4, Indiana 3, Georgia 2, Ohio State 1. You had Texas Tech 5, Texas A&M 4, Georgia 3, Indiana 2, Ohio State number 1. So pretty similar rankings, and I'm just going to start by saying that mine will not change. Mine are going to stay the exact same for this week.
Mine are also going to stay the same. I got Texas Tech at 5, and they had a bye. Just because Ole Miss blasted an FCS team doesn't mean I'm going to move them up ahead.
No.
Texas A&M rolled. I got them at 4. Georgia rolled. I got them at 3. Indiana had a bye. I'm keeping them at 2. And Ohio State looked good once again. So I'm going to just leave them at 1. 1 through 5 is
Yep.
going to stay.
Agreed. Then for Heisman, which is could be a little interesting here.
This
I
is where
had
things pick up for
yeah,
me.
I had Diego Pavia 5, 4 Jeremiah Smith, 3 Ty Simpson, 2 Fernando Mendoza, 1 Julian Sane. You had 5 Jeremiah Love, 4 Ahmad Hardy, 3 Jeremiah Smith, 2 Fernando Mendoza, and 1 Julian Sane. I'm just gonna start by keeping. I'll start with a little bit of a shift. I'm dropping Jeremiah down to 5. I I'm not penalizing him to drop him out because he was hurt. I mean, I don't think he was really hurt terribly. I think it was just more of a caution thing to not get him hurt before the Michigan game. Or sorry, the team up north. I need to watch my mouth. How dare I speak
Dang.
disgusting terms. Um, Jeremiah Smith at 5 for me. Again, he's the best receiver in football, and he probably won't win the Biletnikoff again because for some odd known reason we want to give it based on stats and not on the best receiver in football. But yeah, Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, Jeremiah, if he does end up winning, it's going to be an interesting case study because the stats aren't going to necessarily favor him. But I did leave him in the top 5 because he's still fourth in the Power 4 in touchdown catches with 10 right now. Nationally, he's also 11th in catches, and in yards, he is 13th. Uh, I just, I almost did drop him out too because he didn't play this weekend. And it's like, it's just, this is a weird year, Ben, and I'll talk more about it after we get through the whole list, but it doesn't seem like there's like many dominant
No,
players this
there's not.
season. There's a lot more good teams, I think, than there are good players.
Yeah. Um, for me,
That's my 5, Jeremiah Smith.
yeah, for me, number 4. This is where things started getting a little interesting for me, but I decided to put Diego Pavia at 4. His stat line from this past weekend was absolutely redonkulous.
Over 500 yards of
Yeah,
offense and 5 touchdowns
ridiculous.
on the
The only
on
thing with Diego
right
is
here.
I think there's too many people that hate the guy. I don't think he'll ever win a Heisman because I just think people just don't like him. He's as my bro. I think it was my yeah. One of my buddies said it was he's like the Dollar General Johnny Manziel, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, Diego Pau, I mean, he's putting up the numbers. He runs the ball really well. He throws the ball pretty well. Again, I don't know if he can ever lead his team to the big one, like when it really matters in the playoff. But for now, he's doing a really good job and has Vanderbilt playing really well.
Yeah, I was debating with him and Marcel Reed actually for my list this week, and I think Marcel Reed's going to get on because he's the quarterback of Texas A&M and has got him undefeated, and he's had some moments this season, but. Pavia's fifth in touchdown passes, Ben. He's 14th in yards and he's seventh in completion percentage. He's definitely got the numbers. So he makes an appearance in my list for I think the first time this year. And I think the other thing that you can't ignore, we just mentioned the team accomplishment for Marcel Reed. this is probably the best Vanderbilt team we've ever seen in our entire
Yep,
lives.
I agree.
And Diego Pavia is quarterbacking them to that. So that has to count for something also. I hope he gets an invite if assuming that he ends the season well against Tennessee this weekend, gets him in the playoffs. It'd be really cool to see him there. But I don't think he'll let there will be ever be a world where he wins it because like you said, he doesn't really have a whole lot of fans in the media right now.
No. Um, so yeah, number three, I've dropped Ty Simpson out, and this is where Jeremiah Love is going in for me. As someone said, I think Jeremiah Love is pushing people to really consider, is he the favorite to win the Heisman because of what he's doing. Now, I think that you have to kind of wait and see. I think you have to wait and see what he obviously does this week, but then also what does Julian Sand do against Michigan, but also more team up north. Goodness, Ben, how dare you cuss again? Um, or what
Your dad's
Jer
gonna be mad at you.
I know he
He's
will
gonna
be.
give you a good talking to, sir.
I know he will. He'll put soap in my mouth. But I think he's also going to wait to see, I think, what Julian Sane versus Fernando Mendoza happens in the Big Ten championship game. I think that's when I think you really can decide whether Jeremiah Love is going to be the winner of it. I think if Julian Sane or Mendoza have an amazing game in that sense, it could change things. But for me, number three is Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah loves it three for me too. I think we're right in sync so far,
Yeah,
5, 4, and 3.
we are.
Uh, Ahmad Hardy did not make it again for me. Like I said, he only had 57 this weekend, and I know he's got just almost 100 more yards than Jeremiah does right now. But Jeremiah's beating him in yards per carry. He's beating him in rushing touchdowns, and I think he's got the hot hand right now, as we've said. I mean, he only had 8 carries, I think 173 yards against Syracuse in that game, several touchdowns, just been on a tear. It's really good to be a Jeremiah in football right now with
Hmm.
Jeremiah Love and Jeremiah Smith, and hopefully with our
Dare
Browns, Jeremiah Wusu Koromora.
Yeah, dare I say that there's going to be a rematch in the national championship game this year? Dare I say there could be a rematch? Wouldn't
The
that be
Irish
something?
are hot, man. They
Can you imagine how much people would hate Ohio State and Notre Dame after that if they played again in the
in a
national
12
championship
team
game?
field, mind you, where it's like you got to win 3 games to
Yeah.
get there. Also, it's like everyone had their shot. We made it 12 teams so that more teams could have a shot, right?
As you said, Josh, a couple of months ago, you know what? The best teams are still going to be there at the end. That's just a
Yeah, and if
reality of
Notre
it
Dame
is.
really is like one of the best teams, all you did was make that loss to Miami and that loss to Texas A&M not mean all that much, and you gave them second life in the season, and they could win 10 games in a row.
That's wild.
Yeah, like
Wow.
imagine that pressure going the rest of the season. So Jeremiah Love at 3. Who do you got at 2, Ben? I think we know who 2 and 1 are.
Fernando Mendoza is
Go
still at
ahead.
two for me.
Yeah.
Fernando Mendoza, it's not like he didn't really. I mean, obviously there was no game or anything. So, and then also Julian saying at one for me. I just think, yeah. I mean, people are like, oh, he had a down game last week. I'm like, they were trying to fix. They were not fix the run game. They were just trying to emphasize the run game. And also, he was down his two best targets. Max Clare had a great game, but look, it's different when you have guys in there that you're not in there every single down, every single play. And so for me. Um, Yeah, I just think he was pretty efficient. I mean, they say he had a down game because he threw 68% completion. I'm like, goodness, that's again a down game. Then okay, I'll take it. But he did what he needed to. He led when he had to. So yeah, Julian Sands number one.
Yeah, Mendoza 2, saying 1 also for me. And then that's when I was going to bring up this discussion because I've heard that comment made too that Sane might have lost his at least his Heisman lead right now because that also is the second straight game under 200 yards that he's had. But we're all, I think, in agreement that Julian Sane and Fernando Mendoza are probably going to be the two front runners and then face each other in
I
the Big
agree.
Ten
Yeah,
game. Uh, it's going to be unprecedented for just low their yardage total is. Right now, Sane's got like 2,800, Mendoza's got 2,600. And when we've had quarterbacks finish with like that kind of yardage, they're usually a pretty solid dual threat and adding like 20 touchdowns and 1,000 on the ground, which these guys are not doing.
no, yeah,
And then you got the Jeremiah Love argument, and then you got the people saying Ashton Genty literally rushed for over 2,000 yards last year and it wasn't good enough. Why is what Jeremiah Love's doing good enough? And that just goes to show that, it is season by season. We get a different pool of guys, and there really hasn't been like that one dominant guy.
And
This
some
actually
would
would have
say that Travis Hunter even wasn't that dominant last year, and that was more of a political thing or like a media thing.
Yeah, like this would have actually been a really good year if like there was a defensive guy that just crushed it with the
Oh
way that the
yeah,
offensive guys just haven't been like really overwhelming. Like this would have been the season for something like that to happen. But we don't even really have one of those either,
no,
unfortunately. So I think that the four that they might invite to the ceremony will be San Mendoza, Love, and maybe Marcel Reed. Even though Marcel Reed's not in any of our lists, I
I
think he's still gonna
I think
get
the
a
only
nod.
way, and I've been telling people the only way Jeremiah gets in is if in Jeremiah in these last two games, Jeremiah Smith, the only way he would get in is if he put up, let's say, 120, 130 yards against Michigan. They win the game. And then in the Big Ten championship game, he just goes off. I think that's the only way you see him get invited to um, to the Heisman, which in some Buckeyes fans' mind might be the better thing is if he's not invited.
Yeah, because then you're not gonna steal votes from Julian saying there. It always ends up going against your any of your guys if you got two from the same team there.
Exactly.
So let's go ahead and discuss this game that's happening
The
Saturday
game, baby.
between the Buckeyes, between the Wolverines. Right now, we've got a, let me go ahead and make sure I get this right. Point spread is Ohio State minus 9.5 right now. I think it actually opened up maybe at 12.5, or depending on which book you look at, it might be different, but Ohio State minus 9.5. It's going to be at Ann Arbor this year. Wolverines are 15 in the AP. Figure they'll probably be somewhere similar in the playoff rankings, but this is what we were hoping for, Ben. Michigan has playoff implications and Big Ten championship implications on the line here. So they still got things to play for, even though they got two losses. They could be that fourth Big Ten team that maybe gets to look for the playoffs. And if you're Ohio State, you've been number one since week two of the season after you beat Texas. This is the last hoop to jump through to get to that 12 and 0. And you also got, the four straight losses in this game that, everybody's going to be talking
Mm.
about too. So I heard Joel Klatt say this in his discussion of the game, and I agree. If you're Michigan in the second half, you're just hoping that you're right there, that you're
Yeah,
within
one
a
score
score,
game.
within a couple points, that can continue to play into your strength of loving to run the football. And if you're Ohio State, which they made this mistake last year, they made it more about other things than just them. Like just worry about us. Worry about playing our game. Worry about, Julian saying to Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, and don't worry about trying to pound Bo Jackson up the middle and try to win like how Michigan does. Because that's how you ended up with a situation last year that you ended up in where you were an overwhelming favorite and still ended up losing.
Yeah, and I've kind of broke it down in this way, Josh. I gave two factors for Ohio State and how you come away with this win against Team Up North, and I think the first factor is this: is like play Ohio State football. Don't be ashamed to throw the ball 30 times if that's what you feel comfortable doing. You know that's the way you can win games. Throw the ball 30 times. If you feel like you have the ability to run the ball 25 times, don't do it. Run it 15 times, then throw the ball. Like use your strengths. You have the best receivers in the country. Use them to your advantage. And so for me, that's my first thing. Be Ohio State. Be Ohio State football. Second thing for me would be know your role. It's kind of how I'm putting it. Know your role. Know what you're supposed to do. I think the defense knows that their job is to, yes, obviously shut down Michigan. Sorry, the team up north. I'm really struggling with this today. It's late night. It's late night. Um,
Meat chicken, Benjamin.
Meat
Meat
chicken.
chicken.
Yeah, I know. They, that's one of the things I think they do focus on. Right, is that their defense has got. I think their defense has got to hold their offense up because again, even if Jeremiah Smith is back and Carnell Tate, they might not be 100%. So I think you have to find ways to, you know, allow the defense to almost guide the offense in a sense. And again, slow down the game. Don't have as many possessions. If you get a two score lead, slow down. And for the team of North, I've always said the way they'll beat Ohio State is that they have to find a way to limit the offense to field goals or whatever it might be, and then just take that one score they get. And I think that's the only way I see Ohio State really losing this game is the self inflicted wounds and not doing what you know you should do.
Yeah, statistically, I loved looking at a few things here. Ohio State's basically like, number one or at least top five in almost every category. So I don't even feel like it's worth really comparing right there. But
Not really.
what I will say about Michigan is that it still looks like, a typical Michigan team. They're like top 15 in the country in running the ball. They're top 15 in the country in stopping the run. They're also really good on third down offensively, which makes sense. If they're a team that
Yeah.
likes to run, they win a lot. They're probably in a lot of third and shorts and convert those. They're really good at stopping the third down too. The one X factor I think for them, Marshall will be running this one. It honestly doesn't seem like it matters who runs because
Well, he was
Kuzal,
hurt last game, so that's why I'm interested to see if he'll play this game
yeah, I,
because
I
he
think
missed
he
last
will.
game.
I think he will. It may not be like a 100% thing like with Jeremiah and Carnell, but even if he doesn't, like Kuzal, I think is how you say his name, had 100 on the ground also, and I think a score. So it's like it doesn't really seem to matter who Michigan puts at running back. They just get their yards. But Bryce Underwood, Ben, I think has
Yeah.
to make a couple big plays in this one, and he's failed to do that in the games that they've lost. Like against Oklahoma, that's when he was 9 of 24, no touchdowns in that one. And then against USC, he had a little bit more accurate of game, 15 to 24, two touchdowns and a pick, 207 yards. We got to see him make some plays, I
Yeah.
think. When you compare to like last year's team, we thought that even though Bryce was a freshman, he'd be like a net upgrade at quarterback because between Davis Warren and Tuttle and Alex Orji last year, I think you amounted to 12 touchdown passes over
Yeah.
there. Bryce only has nine passes this year, actually, for
Yeah, he
touchdowns.
hasn't looked great a lot of times.
Yeah. Yardage wise, though, he's got 2,100 yards. He's completing over 60% of his passes. So I think you can still call it a net upgrade. Maybe not as big as what I would have thought, though, as you would have.
Yeah.
But got to make some plays through the air, I think. Devin McCauley's had his moments. Andrew Marsh is starting to heat up a little bit, I think, freshman receiver. But I mean, Ohio State's got the number one defense, so it's these guys are young. A lot of them, you know, I've heard the point made that nobody on Ohio State right now currently has gold pants or a win over Michigan. There's a decent amount of guys that are going to play for Michigan that don't have a win over Ohio State because of like the youth. Like
Yeah.
Marshall's a freshman, Underwood's a freshman. Like, how is the moment gonna affect them? Like they haven't played in an environment like this, they haven't played in a game like this. So even though the
No, yeah.
team has won four straight, I think there's a handful of important players that haven't played in this game yet, and that's gonna be fun to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm excited for it. I think to me, I look at it and my score prediction kind of shows that I think I do believe Ohio State's going to win this game. I do believe they stopped the curse of losing to Michigan over the last what? Technically, they haven't beat them since 2019, technically, because 2020
2019
they
was the last one.
quit.
2020 they missed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I think Ohio State wins this. I'm going to go Ohio State. I'm going to go Ohio State 34, Team Up North 10.
I've gone back and forth, Ben, because I've picked Ohio State all four of those years, and I know you have too. They've
Yeah.
looked like the better team coming into it every time, and they look like the better team into it once again. So if I pick Ohio State and they lose again a fifth year in a row, I'm the idiot. But also, if I pick Michigan to win this game and Ohio State wins, it's like I'm also an idiot. I
Yeah.
don't have any win-win here with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I think after the loss last year, Ryan Day definitely flipped the switch on this team with how they just went on that tear with like the three games through the playoffs and then the Natty over Notre Dame. And we've seen that this year at times too, where they just, that this is a different Ryan Day, I think, and I think he finally is starting to get it that if we play our game, there's not going to be many teams that beat us. So I'm
Yeah.
putting faith in Ryan Day in this one. I'm asking the Buckeyes not to embarrass me, and I'm going to go ahead and for a fifth year in a row pick Ohio State to win this game. I don't know if it'll be by as big of a score as what you gave, but I'll go ahead and go 30 to 14 Ohio
I'm
State.
loving it. I'm loving it.
So that's happening on Saturday. Also happening on Saturday is the Iron Bowl in the evening. We got a 7:30 kickoff for this one. This
Dare I
one's at
say,
Auburn.
dare I say Auburn pulls off a win and knocks Alabama out of the playoff? Dare I
Well,
say?
let me tell you maybe why they could do that or why Auburn has a reason to play for this one. Because Alabama has everything right on this one. They got to win this because if they don't, they're not playing the SEC championship. They're probably losing. That'll be their third loss. They probably aren't playing for a college football playoff for a second year in a
Yeah.
row. So imagine what the fan base would do if a situation like that happened. If you're Auburn, though, Right now you're 5-6. You get this one, you're at least bowl eligible. DJ Durkin, your interim coach, apparently is getting a lot more consideration to get this head coaching job next year than what some thought. So he's got something to play for in this one. And then you also got that opportunity to spoil your biggest rivalry season. We've seen this game be close before, Ben. It was just
Yeah.
2 seasons ago, I think, where Jalen Milroe had to throw a game-winning touchdown in this one. Auburn had him right where they wanted, and he threw a big, like, 2-point conversion that he was under pressure on that ended up winning the game. But Auburn's one of those teams, Ben, that could win this one ugly. Before they allowed that 45-point outburst to Vanderbilt, they were one of the only teams in the country with Indiana and Ohio State to not allow more than 24 in a game. The defense is scrappy. Uh, they've kept a lot of good teams close. They faced Oklahoma and lost that one 24-17. They lost to Texas A&M 16-10, Georgia 20-10, Missouri 23-17. Uh, Vanderbilt, they lost that one in overtime, but they've been in all these games, like going into the second half
Oh
or going
yeah.
into the fourth quarter. And like you see right there, a lot of those games have been decided by less than 10 points. So Alabama, a team that we've talked about how they've been losing steam, but they also don't really score a whole lot of points either. They
No.
love killing the clock. They're a really good third down team. They extend drives. So I think this one definitely favors to be a more low scoring game, and that's exactly what Auburn's going to want.
Yeah. I think a low scoring game, but also I think this is where I think Alabama needs to figure out that second motor, that second part of their engine, figure out the run game. They've got to get that going. I think you can't put everything on Ty Simpson. I don't think that's quite possible at this stage. And for me, I just think Alabama, I mean, they have a good shot to win this game, right? Like I think they can win this game. But hey, we've seen some weird things in this rivalry, and I am going to say Alabama's going to win. I think Alabama's going to win 27-21. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think at the end of the day, Alabama kind of pulls away.
Yeah, and again, just to reiterate, Alabama did beat Georgia, but it was only by 3. They beat Missouri by 3. They beat South Carolina by 7. They beat LSU by 11, and then they lost to Oklahoma just a couple weeks ago by 2 points. And then what was it? Tennessee, they beat them by 17. So that was
Yeah.
maybe one of their more like solid, convincing wins of the season. But a lot of their games have been close. So it would not shock me in the slightest if Auburn ended up winning this game. But I think Kalen DeBoer, Ty Simpson, all these guys got too much to play for also. While, like I said, Auburn's in a great spot, I think, for this one. I think Alabama uh, is going to do what it needs to in this one. And I think it'll be, one of those like more ugly games. Uh, I'll go 20-17 tied in
Ooh,
this
I
one.
like it. I like it.
Yeah, and again on that one, depending on which book you look at, right now ESPN has Alabama minus 6.5, but I think this one might have opened up for some books at 3.5 or 3 points even. Let's see, we got another big rivalry happening on Saturday with playoff implications. So we got, the game at noon, we got the Iron Bowl in the evening, and then right in that 3:30 slate, we got Vanderbilt at Tennessee. Going back to Diego Pavia, Ben, at the start of the year, he said that Vanderbilt would prove that they run the state of Tennessee for college football. Well,
Yeah.
right now they got, the higher ranking right now. They got the slightly better record, but they got to win this game to cement that as, the true kings of the state of Tennessee. I heard David Cohn on Crane Company mention that all of Vanderbilt's losses have been when they've allowed over 30 points, and all Tennessee's losses have been when they've scored, I think, under 20 or under or 20 or less, maybe. I can't remember. It was something like that along those lines. But when you look at how these teams have been playing, Tennessee still doesn't have a ranked win this season. They
Yeah.
have lost, of course, to Georgia. They have lost to Alabama, and they have lost to Oklahoma in this one. Uh, and then you go on the Vanderbilt side, and they got some pretty good wins that you can write home about. They do have a loss to Alabama also. They played them a little bit better, I think, than the Vols did, but uh, they've beaten Missouri, they've beaten LSU, They lost to Texas by 3, so another close one right there. So at least as it stands right now, they don't have a win over a currently ranked team either. But yeah, this one I think is the hardest one to pick so far out of the three that we've discussed.
Yeah, it's tough for me, but look, I've been on the Pavia train, even though I hate it. And I don't trust Tennessee, I think, to really play a complete game on both sides of the ball. And so for me, I think I just got to take the Dollar General Johnny Manziel, and I'm going to say Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt win this game. And I'm going to say it's going to be, I'm going to go 28-21.
Hmm. I will say too that Joey Aguilar, as good as he's been for the Vols this year, he's tended to throw a lot of picks in some of these losses too, and turnovers I think could be a big factor in this one. I also want to go ahead and give Tennessee credit for their season. With the whole quarterback situation and what they were losing from last year's team, I thought 8-4 would have been like a really good year for them. And if they lose this game, that's what they're finishing 8-4.
And
So
some would say they even got better.
yeah, maybe. But uh, I'm going with Vanderbilt in this one. I think the matchups favor like a higher scoring game than what you just mentioned. I think we could see both teams go in the 40s in this one. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to say Vanderbilt wins 48 to 45. It's going to be a fun one. Like if the
Old
Auburn
classic
Alabama
shootout.
game, yeah, I think Alabama Auburn is not going to be fun to watch. I think this is the game that is going to be the most fun to watch, like out of the weekend.
The bold statements.
Just
The bold
punch after
statements.
punch, touchdown after touchdown. Pavia versus Aguilar. Pavia's playing, for the Heisman for the state of Tennessee. Uh, Tennessee's, playing for pride. They don't want to be little brother. They need a ranked win too for their resume. If they, I don't know, I don't think there's really a path for Tennessee to make the playoffs at this point. But you still want to play for pride to beat your little brother and stuff. So those are all the big games I think going on in the Saturday slate. Friday we got a couple fun ones also, and we'll just go ahead and start with Georgia at Georgia Tech. 3:30 kickoff. Georgia's 13.5 point favorite in this one. I know you and I think very highly of Georgia. We think they're the best team in the SEC right now. And Georgia Tech, while they haven't had a tough schedule, they've struggled in some of the games against tougher teams. That one win that put them on the map kind of over Clemson doesn't look all that fantastic anymore, and they look like they're kind of just on life support right now too. If Haynes King isn't getting like 400 total yards and 6 touchdowns, it doesn't look like a really good day for the Yellow Jackets typically. This is at Georgia Tech. I don't think this is a
This
true
is
road
neutral
game
site.
though.
This is
It-
neutral site. It's like
yeah,
in
so
it's in Atlanta, I
Mercedes-Benz in
believe.
Atlanta.
And so this is what's funny about it is that I work with a buddy, obviously that's a huge Georgia fan, playing the marching band. And it's just funny to hear him and his thoughts on this. But he thinks they're going to beat the brakes off of him. And look, after that game last week, I wouldn't be shocked. But again, Georgia Tech took him to 8 overtimes. So um, yeah, I just the way Georgia's playing right now, I don't see how there's an avenue for Georgia Tech to win unless it's Georgia making mistakes. And so I'm going to take Georgia 38, Georgia Tech 21.
Yeah, Gunnar Stockton's had some nice games lately. I'll just read some of his stat sheets against some teams that got some good defenses. Over Ole Miss, he had 289 yards and 4 touchdowns. Over Florida, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 4 touchdowns in the Texas game, and then it was FCS weekend last week, but 17 to 21 in that one. So completed most of his passes in that one. I think this is going to be a nice game for him, and I think it's going to leave Georgia fans, saying like, why not Stockton
Little
in the Heisman
salty.
ballot too? Yeah, yeah. I think they're gonna have a day over here. Give me dogs, 35-10 actually.
Ooh, love it.
We'll wrap it up with the Friday night matchup of Texas A&M at Texas. This game had playoff and SEC championship implications on it last year. It's got the same thing right now. Some people think that Texas has a good enough resume that if they win this game, they can still get in the playoff as a three-loss team also. And we've mentioned A&M before. how shaky they've looked at times. They just almost lost to South Carolina a couple weeks ago. Uh, but out of the Georgia and the A&M games that Texas had to play, I didn't see them winning both of them. I thought they could maybe win one of them. And since they lost the Georgia one, I wonder if they can just, get a little bit more fight here and maybe catch A&M off guard.
Well, I'll put it this way. I think this is Arch Manning's final like kind of test to show the scouts and maybe in other teams himself like is or even Texas, is this worth them continuing to invest in? Be interested to see how that goes. But um yeah, it's just Texas A&M is a really good team. But I like Texas defense in this right now. We see Texas A&M do shootouts. I don't know how it would be if a team could slow them down. Um, this is a hard one. I think I'm going to go Texas 24, Texas A&M 21.
Yeah, it's tough because it's like Notre Dame's got a good defense. They put up 41 on them in that one. Auburn's got a good
Yeah,
defense. They only scored 16 in that one. They scored 34 on a good Florida defense. They scored 49 on a good LSU defense. So I'm not going to say that like Texas defense is, something special enough that they can't score a bunch of points on them. But we did just see Texas put up 52 on Arkansas. Of course, Arkansas's got a pretty bad defense, but
yeah,
I think this game's got shootout capability to it. And Texas can win a shootout, I guess, just like Texas A&M is capable of winning shootouts. They beat Notre Dame, like I said, 41-40 in that one. I did pick Texas to beat Georgia. I thought they were still, just going to continue to ride some momentum and have a sense of urgency. Uh, since they lost that one, I will also go ahead and pick them to win this one also. Uh,
do you feel this is enough for them to get squeak in or not?
so if Texas wins, this is the resume that they'd be arguing for. Their
Lost to the number one
losses,
team.
they lost to the number one team in the country, right, by one score. They lost to maybe the number three team in the country by 25. Not a good look. And then they lost that Florida game by 8. But you could argue tough road environment in Gainesville,
Yeah,
whatever. Their wins, though, which is, what ultimately matters, not who you lose to, it's who you also beat. They beat Oklahoma. They've beaten Vanderbilt, and they would have Texas A&M their first loss this season. So they got three solid wins that you can argue too
yeah,
that maybe some of those two-loss teams, like we were saying with like
hmm
Vanderbilt, right now they currently don't have a win over a ranked team right now.
yeah,
Uh, if Michigan loses, that's another team that gets knocked out. If Alabama loses, like that's a team that gets knocked out, maybe. But Alabama would have a pretty nice resume, also a pretty comparable resume, I think, also to the Longhorns. Uh,
yeah,
this weekend, and then conference championship weekend, I think is going to answer a lot of questions. Maybe clear up some of the muddiness that we got right now. Because honestly, like from like Texas at 16, Michigan's at 15, Utah 14, Miami 13, Vanderbilt 12, BYU 11. They all very much got a case to be made. But for the Michigans, for the Vanderbilts, for the Miamis, Alabamas, I
gotta
think if you
win.
just win, you're in, and there's nothing that Texas can do about it.
Yeah, I mean it's that old adage like you just gotta focus on your job, and
Yeah,
so win the games you need to. Don't lose the games you shouldn't lose to. Um, that's kind of how I see it fit.
I will say though, man, Texas, you gotta show up in the second half because I've seen it almost cost them a couple
Yeah,
times. And it actually
it's
did
like
cost
opposite
them.
of Georgia. Like Georgia doesn't show up in the first half; they show up in the second half.
Yeah, like Texas cannot fall asleep in the second half. Like A&M will pounce on you like they did South Carolina.
Yeah, agreed. Well, do you have anything else, Josh? You want to
I
add for
think
the?
that's uh I think that's the show, isn't
Do
it?
you? Yeah, do you feel like you ready for rivalry weekend, Josh?
I can't wait, dude.
Oh, okay. I will ask you this question before we go. Over under. Let's say, actually, let's just say this: your percentage out of 100% that Lane Kiffin ends up being the LSU head coach after the weekend this weekend?
Some were hoping that he would make, a statement before the Egg Bowl on Thursday. So far, no statement has been made.
Which
We
makes
know
you wonder.
LSU put out a hefty offer, though.
Yeah.
$90 million, I think it was. Also giving him
I
a $25 million
don't think
budget for a
LSU's
roster.
learning their lesson if that's what they're offering.
On one hand, it's like Lane Kiffin has not won a playoff game yet. He has not won a
Yep.
conference championship yet. But we know how good LSU's program is that if you can just get the right guy in there, like three different head coaches have won national championships there in
Hmm.
our lifetimes. I think Lane Kiffin could win a national
True.
championship there. But with that amount of money, like you just said, Florida State's another one that extended Mike Norvell maybe prematurely, and now they can't fire him because his buyout's too much. We're seeing a lot of coaches get paid not to coach right now. Offering Lane Kiffin 90 million, you could make the case, it's really hard to win at Ole Miss, and he's done just about as good as anybody can do at Ole Miss. I think he could do well
Hmm.
at LSU. All that to say though, I think he's going to stay.
Really? You think he's going to stay?
I think that he will. I think he loves maybe the lower pressure situation. I think he's more of a fun guy, not necessarily a lockdown all business guy. And I
Yeah.
think being at Ole Miss allows him to be more of himself. And since he is winning a lot over there, like he's never gonna have like his job security in question over there.
Yeah.
Like he can continue to do this. Um, I think it all depends, what Lane wants. That would be my guess. That seems to fit more his
Hmm.
personality, like I said. But if he ends up at LSU, I mean, that's a lot of money to turn down. So if I had to guess, though, I'd say he's going to be at Ole Miss next year. But we'll find out. There's a lot of jobs he's
Hmm.
being considered for. If it's not LSU, is it Florida? Is it Auburn?
Hmm. Do you feel like, yeah, it's such an
Some people have even wondered, what about the NFL with the New York Giants and reunite with Jackson Dart?
yeah. I mean I'm leaning more towards he's going to stay, but I'm saying that with I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves. So
Yeah,
that's kind of how I'm putting it. Like I think he'll stay, but I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves.
I think they will win the Egg Bowl. They will announce a new extension and that, solidify that he's not going anywhere, and they'll go into
Hmm.
the playoffs without any distractions. But that also would be unlike Lane Kiffin too, because there's always drama involved with this guy too.
Always is. There's a little fun. He likes to play fun with,
Yeah.
toy with people.
But the way that the
So,
calendar works though for college football, LSU almost like needs an answer now so that they can solidify
oh
their
yeah,
recruiting class and get things going to next year. Because if Lane decides he's staying, or at least says, I don't know yet, or doesn't like address this, and decides to coach those playoff games with Ole Miss, I don't think the fans are really loving that because you don't
no,
know if he's committed.
yeah.
Like, would you have a better shot of winning with a fully committed, maybe Pete Golding
Hmm.
in the interim than maybe a Lane Kiffin with, 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Because LSU still has, I think, some
I think bring back
administrative things to
Orgeron.
figure out too.
Bring back Orgeron.
Man, that'd be
Bring
wild.
that would be wild,
I
but it wouldn't surprise
I
me.
would hate that if I was an LSU fan, but it's
Yeah.
like we're
So that's what I
LSU
want you.
and this is the best we
That
could do.
I know. This is what I want you to answer down below. What is the percentage you think Lane Kiffin becomes the next football coach at LSU, or is it someone else? So yeah,
I'll say it's 40%. 40% he becomes the LSU
yeah.
coach.
Okay, I'm at like 60. So we're kind of splitting there in the middle. Yeah, I think that's about it. Um, please, everyone, go. I will say before we go, and Josh knows this. I didn't actually tell him I was going to say this on the show, but it's fine. This is how we do these things. Um, Actually, last week during the show, if you paid close attention, you would have noticed that I looked down at my phone about, well, I don't know, near the end of the show. And I later find out that very good friend of mine, my best friend growing up of 25 plus years, I turned 30 in June. So for literally like 90% of my life, um, suddenly passed away. I got a text while we were recording. I didn't look at it till afterwards. So I just wanted to say that it's an interesting time because Jordan, his name was Jordan, and he never was on this podcast. He was on one of my old podcasts, and he's been in a couple of my videos before. He was a huge High State fan. Um, And so this week for the mid game, it feels kind of different, and almost like being able to do that, cheer, having him cheer there with me in a sense. So I just come on here to say this because I think those of you that do pray and those of you do, um, you know, understand this. I think the biggest tip I can learn from this is that like don't waste friendships. And I think even like there was a guy from some football team that was talking about how his not only his faith but like how he's had to realize that friendships matter. So use that, and I'm just using that. I know we talk about sports a lot, but something that tragic happened that definitely affected in my life, but also just hoping that you those people can learn from it and learn how to take time seriously and be there for each other. So yeah, I just want to say that I know I had texted Josh. I think I think the next morning. I
The
think
next day, I think, yeah.
yeah, and I mean we were all kind of shocked. I mean he was even shocked in that moment, which I don't know about you, man. Like 30 years old, it's kind of surreal when you're like literally at that age. Uh,
Yeah.
it makes you really think about priorities, man.
I'll go ahead and say, like, with you too, and give you a little compliment. I know how tough it can be to maintain friendships, like, not just from like different states, but I mean, different continents, dude. Like, we're in different time zones, and we find a way to make this show happen, being 6 hours apart.
Yeah,
And so to still be able to maintain like childhood friendships, even through like, the 4 years of college where like, you're probably at different places, and
yeah.
then in different countries where maybe you're only visiting the States like once every other year. Like those are hard to maintain. And it's cool that you were able to do it, continuing to do that even this long into adulthood.
Yeah, and I think it's a reminder, like, and I was telling my students this yesterday, like, you never know, like, when God calls your time. And, you never know when someone else's time comes. And so, I was telling them, like, stop fighting with each other. Like, forgive and move on, right? Like, there's bigger things, and you know this, Josh, but there's bigger things in the world than bickering with friends that cause all these big turmoils. Like you move on, you accept it, you move on, and you learn from it. um, and yeah, he was a great friend, and as I'm watching this game on Saturday, I hope they win. Be a long year, but I think it's kind of cool to think about that. So yeah, once again, just want to thank, first off, ask for all you to pray for the Bush family, but also those of you who are listening that have reached out to me as well. Like, thank you. It means a lot to me as well and to the family. And yeah, so if you've loved watching this episode on YouTube, go get that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and comment down below. We already talked about the one comment about Lane Kiffin, but I want a second one is, do you believe there will be multiple non-quarterbacks in the Heisman Trophy finalist stage in New York City, or will there be all quarterbacks? Which one will it be? That's the question we're going to have to
More
answer. And I
likely
think
all quarterback, or more likely more than one non-quarterback?
exactly. So I'm
So
interested to
it's
hear what you guys
interesting,
think.
Jeremiah Love and like Mendoza saying, like, which
Yeah,
one's more likely? Is it more likely that Love's joined by like a Jeremiah Smith or a Ahmad
exactly.
Hardy?
Yeah. So I'm interested to see what you guys say down below. Again, that's always the fascinating part that I like to hear. And I've had people, they listen to it, they see me at school and they're like telling me their answer. I'm like, interesting. Especially a European's answer to it. It's always interesting to see how it is. But
Yeah.
also go, if you love listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, let us know by liking, favoriting, and all that fun jazz. Once again, enjoy Rivalry Weekend. Happy Thanksgiving. We didn't even say that, Josh, at the beginning of our show. How dare we?
It's
Um,
not only rivalry weekend, it's Thanksgiving week
Happy
too.
Thanksgiving. Listen, I have an excuse though. We don't celebrate over here. I have to work on
Not on
Thanksgiving.
Ben's mind. So
I have to work on Thanksgiving, so it's weird to go to school and teach during Thanksgiving. It's weird. But happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing time, fulfilled. And before we go, Josh, what is your favorite Thanksgiving food? Go, say it now. Don't debate it. Oh, come on. You can't. It can't be everything.
I mean, what comes to my mind is cranberry sauce, but I know that's not
That's
the best.
disturbing. That is disturbing in every
You
way
you
possible.
caught me off guard. You know what? We were talking about homemade cranberry sauce at work last night and how we make it, like the different recipes. I think that's why.
You're such
But
an old man.
the sweet potato casserole with marshmallows is also definitely a classic. Also,
I see. I come in the line of like I love some good like crescent rolls. You know, like those rolls, like the Pillsbury rolls that
yeah.
grandparents would have.
So
That
crescents instead of like the King's Hawaiian sweet roll.
yes, yes,
Okay.
and then um, I've actually been. It's weird. I love turkey, but obviously over here it's easier to get chicken, and so having like a rotisserie chicken on Thanksgiving has been like cool over the occasionally.
Yeah.
But I think the best part is just like eating all the mashed potatoes I can eat. So I'm gonna go with mashed potatoes because I think a good mashed potato is just amazing. I don't know about you. I can eat a whole bunch of mashed potatoes.
It is. I think I have more than just Thanksgiving to eat mashed potatoes though, and that's why I wouldn't necessarily pick
Okay,
that
I
one.
got you.
Whereas like these other foods, it's like I'm only eating these because it's Thanksgiving, if that makes sense. And
No, I
mashed
get
potatoes
it.
can
Yeah,
still be, good on their own, and it's great that they're a part of the Thanksgiving platter too, but
yeah.
that's how I look at it
It
at
is
least.
fascinating. But yeah, let us know again about your Thanksgiving meals. I don't know. I just Thanksgiving's a weird, fun meal time. You can eat you can literally have like eat anything you want and not feel bad about it. That's how I put it. It's just a
And it's
great time.
excused.
Be a thankfulness. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Have a great weekend. Until next time, we'll see ya.